Good evening, folks. We're halfway there through the week. My name is Stuart Davis, and I am a flawed man of God. We are going. My mic was off. Way to boomer that one out, right, guys? Welcome to the show. It's Wednesday. We're halfway there. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be making mistakes along the way. Highly flawed man of God here. Flawed in a technical sense, flawed in a spiritual sense. That's me. My name is Stuart Davis. I am the purveyor of this channel, a flawed man of God. I am a deacon at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I am not a pastor. I am not a biblical scholar. I have not been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What I am trying to do today with this show is offer some exposure, some insights, a look into Christian life, thoughts and feelings that I have through the lens of my faith. I am not beholden to any particular doctrine or any denomination. I'm just in the Word and just in the faith, day to day, offering what I can, and if I can be of some insight to you. If I can show you what it's like, that we are no different. Our lives are not any different than yours. We go through the same struggles. We go through the same trials and tribulations. Struggle with emotions. Struggle with sin, and day in and day out. Doubt is something that we live with on a day-to-day basis. However, through that doubt, we still have faith in Jesus Christ, that he came from God, was born, lived a perfect life, was crucified, and died for our sins so that we might receive salvation. It's a great and beautiful, wonderful thing to have. And if you're looking for something more in your life, and you feel like there's more out there than just the small existence that we have on this earth, welcome to the program. Please tune in. Please give me your thoughts and feelings. Like and subscribe to this channel. That is the whole purpose of this, is just to give exposure. Even if you're not, even if you are grounded in your faith and you want to discuss your thoughts, discuss the different things that we talk about and how that affects you, and how your opinion differs, or that you agree, doesn't matter. Want to hear from you. Like I said, like, subscribe. You can find me here on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter and Facebook. Same handle, a flawed man of God. Join the groups. Be part of the conversation. Share this link. Share this channel with people you think might need to hear about it. Now, we are halfway through this week. We are doing the Bible read this week of Leviticus, as we trudge through reading through the Bible cover to cover, and it is definitely trudging when we're talking about Leviticus. That said, we're going to get a much different perspective next week, when I have plenty of personalities coming on. Monday, we'll have Eric Roll to talk about the 12 tribes of Israel, and we are looking forward to that. He is always an awesome presence and personality on the show. The streams run long. It's usually about a 2-hour stream. Start at about 8:30 in the evening, run it to about 10 o'clock or 10:30. 10:30. Run it to about 10:30. And that pretty much wipes me out for the for the night. It takes me a while to come down from that discussion, because it's a lot of good and wholesome talk about God and the issues surrounding it. We've talked about apologetics, trying to fill in plot holes in the Bible, discuss it more where we don't get a whole lot of interest or a lot of information on something that's very interesting to us. The first topic we did was the Nephilim, and they are briefly mentioned, and there is a lot of fascination within Christianity and people outside of Christianity with who the Nephilim are, and what the whole deal is with them. And so we went through that. It's a very great conversation that we had. Plenty of information that he brought to us. Then after that, we did the 12 tribes of Israel. What the symbolism that God put when he led the 12 sons of Jacob into Egypt, and what that would mean for the Israelites as they came out of Egypt and formed their nation based on those 12 tribes. All their identity throughout the Old Testament is wrapped up in those 12 tribes. And what does that mean for them? What is there's substance behind that. And if you listen to Jacob on his deathbed, he's definitely prophesying the future of their tribes, in my opinion. Eric came on, did a really good job giving most of the information that he had, and we didn't get a chance to finish it. We still haven't had a chance to finish it because we've been talking about just the different things that have been going on in Christianity today that have been hitting. The last one we did was the Daily Wire episode or Daily Wire article that hit on some of the key figures in a lot of evangelical circles colluding with the government in basically putting out information in a faith way that the government wanted us to do. And so that was the crux of that, was keeping the government out of churches, because we need to do that. That's regardless of whether you agree with the message or not. If this was a message about the Second Amendment, that's something that I believe fully in. And if that shouldn't be preached from the pulpit. It's not a faith issue. It's not something that we need to be getting information from not just the government, any outside source that isn't scriptural. We need to keep it out. And that's a big problem. It's not just a big problem within the far end of the Protestant spectrum. It is also throughout. But right now, the big piece was on the evangelical, so we talked about that and how that applies for you, not just for what you see in the media, but also what you see coming from your own pulpit. If I don't generally recommend mega churches, but if that's your thing, hey, get in there. Just stay away from the prosperity preachers. They're not good for you. They're not good for anybody except for themselves, and only while they're here, because they got a lot to answer to. They've got a lot to answer to when they're called for judgment. Now, that said, Eric will be on tomorrow night. Barring some big scandalous thing coming across the headlines, we are going to finish up 12 Tribes of Israel. He's got another idea that I really like that we're going to talk about the next time he's on. But that's for a different time. We're talking about next week. Tuesday night at 8:00. Billy Dyer, the apologetics guy who really spoke to me and introduced me to apologetics, will be on. We'll be talking about apologetics and its importance to teach our youth in youth ministry, and why he feels it is something it's a belief we both share, but why he feels so strongly in teaching kids apologetics at a young age so that we can set them up for success. Then Thursday night, it's going to be a late stream, 9:30. Reverend Hans Feeney is going to be on. He is the man behind Lutheran Satire on YouTube. Very funny guy. In fact, that's what he's going to be talking about: satire, humor, snark in the Bible, in faith, as Christians. How do we hold it? Where do we see it? Everybody thinks the Bible is a boring book. It is something I'm going to ask him about specifically. Is because it does seem at times when you read through the Bible that humor is a very rare thing indeed. I cannot tell you one time where I can remember reading in the Bible where somebody actually laughed. And so those are questions I'm going to be hitting him with. He is very insightful. He is very funny. And I am just happy to get him on the program. Again, these are all folks that I'm blessed to have on, and by all means, please chat, be part of the conversation. I will read what you have to say, as long as it's not profane, not profaning God, and not completely disrespectful. I will be reading them to the guests if you have any questions or comments for them. And look, I'm not at the point where I have a large chat, or if I've got where I have super chats or any of that stuff. It's all going to be free. Just chat away, and we'll see where we go from there. Now, then after that, at that point, we will be in numbers in our read through that week. So Wednesday and Friday, tentatively, we will be continuing our read through. But again, This reading's for everybody. This reading's for you to give me your insights to as we go through, like we're going to be doing tonight. Now, tonight we're going to be in Leviticus 21 through 23. That is going to be covering chapters 21 through 22. We're going to be covering rules for priests. This is an important thing. And as we said, the Bible's very dry in this book. Leviticus is difficult to get through. It's very legalistic. You've heard me say this before. So I'm sorry I sound like a broken record, but I mean, that's just, it is what it is. But this part is also very, very important. It's important because it's regarding priests, and something that we should all be able to relate to today, because we see it in the news where people in any type of authority are abusing their power. It happens every day, multiple times a day. We see articles, we see news, we see announcements come out about somebody abusing their power, whether it's a politician or a priest or a administrator of some sort, a boss at a company. Somebody's using their power for ill will, for their own personal gain, or for something untoward. So that's fine. You're going to have corruption in life, but the place that you need to keep it out of the most completely is the church, is the hierarchy, because this is the difficult thing. You break trust with people. We talked about this with Eric when Eric was on here last week. If you abuse that power, or if you give people reason to suspect that you're not being honest and what you're talking about is not coming from the Bible, is not coming from God, then they will disbelieve you, and you will lose your credibility. And you won't not just be losing your credibility. They might also be losing credit. They might also feel that the credibility of God is in question. And in that point, you've not just failed yourself and done yourself a great disservice. You have also failed the people who put trust in you. And that's a difficult thing. That is a difficult thing to answer to. When things that you will be called to task for at judgment. That's not one that I want to be brought before me. I'm sure at some point I will be held accountable for being a bad witness. I'm sure I've done it from time to time. I'm not always the most agreeable person. I am somebody who is argumentative, sarcastic, and I can be full of invective sometimes. It is a character flaw of mine, and something that I try to improve day in and day out, but constantly struggle with it. But one thing I try to be is as honest as possible. Part of why I'm doing this, do this live, talk about something that I believe thoroughly in, kind of keeps me honest on things. Same thing will apply to priests. You have to be honest. You have to be honest and straightforward, and you have to obey the rules. And because that is a position with so much responsibility on it. It's not for everybody. You have to be called to be a priest. Where you call them a padre, father, minister, pastor, bishop, whatever. It's a calling, and people look to you in that regard. And it's no different. But God's setting this up specifically. Rules for priests. He's setting them aside in a very real sense. There are pros and cons of being a priest. You don't have the luxury of screwing up big time, because again, it's not just you that you're accountable for, your faith that you're accountable for. You're accountable for the faith of the people around you, because you're a leader of them. You're a spiritual leader, and your spiritual faith is such a personal, deep thing that you can't abuse it. We read about it again. Catholic Church is a great punching bag for the Protestants and other folks to say, look at all the scandal that's going on. Look at all the ways those priests have abused people. Look at those kids. Look at them, messing with them kids. And it's a horrible thing. It is a horrible thing. And the Catholic Church should do better about addressing the issue. But again, we can't point fingers at them. At least not anybody else, because the same stuff is going on in parishes, churches, whatever, all across the country, all across the world. And guess what? Even outside. I'd love to look up the stat, but somebody I know said that, again, you'd have to look it up yourself, because I didn't do research, because I didn't actually think I was going to be going down this this rabbit hole too much. But the amount of sexually inappropriate behavior that goes on in a church from the priesthood is, per capita, percentage wise or whatever, less than what goes on at your average corporation. And we see it everywhere, whether it's a corporation or an HOA or something like that. Look, sex is a thing that a lot of us are are obsessed with. All right. It just is. And the other thing we're obsessed with is power. And you add those two together, it's a bad combination. So what do? We are supposed to hold people accountable. Ultimately, God is going to hold us accountable. We have to do what we can. And that means the priests need to do what they can. They said it's going on in parishes all over the place. I know people. I've got a topic I want to talk about soon. I want to get people on who have been wronged by their church, by church in the past, and how they got past it. I would not doubt to see somebody come on and talk about a being at a church with a sexual scandal going on in it, and that being part of the reason that they left, and might have shaken their faith or might have not. But I guarantee you, when those things happen, you're going to have some people walk away altogether, and that is a terrible thing. So, great power comes great responsibility for my true Spider-Man movie fans. Listening to Uncle Ben, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, the only Spider-Man, in my opinion. Gosh, I was so emo back then. All right. Leviticus 21, rules for priests. The Lord said to Moses, speak to the priests, the sons of Aaron, and say to them, a priest must not make himself ceremonially unclean for any of his people who die, except for a close relative, such as his mother or father, his son or daughter, his brother, or an unmarried sister who is dependent on him, since he has no husband, since she has no husband. For her, he may make himself unclean. He must not make himself unclean for people related to him by marriage and so defile himself. I don't know exactly. Sorry, guys, my nose is running just a wee bit, enough to make it itch. I don't know exactly what this is in reference to. Priest must not make himself ceremonially unclean for any of his people who die. I think it might. Oh, okay. I think it might be touching relatives, being near them. Okay, because God understands. God understands your family is very close, and that you may want to be near them when they die, or after they have died. It's an emotional thing. God gave us familial ties and strong emotions that come with it for a reason. He values the importance of family. Priests must not shave their heads or shave off the edges of their beards or cut their bodies. They must be holy to their God and must not profane the name of their God, because they present the food offerings to the Lord, the food of their God. They are to be holy. So we see this again here. Don't cut the edges of your beard. Obviously, I do that. But my wife hates it. She likes a big full beard. And yeah, I don't like it so much. You know, I like the look, but man, after it gets to a certain length, it just gets to be too much work. I'm not interested in all that. But yeah, I mean, he's talking about, look, you gotta make sure. I've put some of these rules in place. You need to be steadfast in honoring that. Again, profane the name of their God, don't do it, because you're an example to everybody. You're the example to everybody. Only Levites can be priests. Okay, so again, you're almost born into this. And I don't know if all the Levites are priests, but the only priests are the only priests are Levites. They must not marry women defiled by prostitution or divorced from their husbands, because priests are holy to their God. Regard them as holy because they offer up food of your God. Consider them holy because I, the Lord, am holy. I who make you holy. So again, holding yourself to a higher standard. There's a reason. A lot of times people take how God talks about women in the rules of Leviticus as if they're second-class citizens, but God understands the influence that women have in a household. A lot of times we had this, there was a Twitter exchange today where I was making a joke about a man who was not living up to the correct standard of leadership within the family, and obviously, there was some gnashing of teeth in relation to that. But I mean, that's what it is, right? And everybody assumes that because something is masculine, because somebody doesn't view something as masculine, they view it as bad. That's not the case. A masculine person should not be, or a man should not lack masculinity, and a woman should not lack femininity. They're both very special, very unique halves of two beings coming together, and it is a very special thing. And when women feel like they are second best because they don't have masculine traits, they are forgetting what makes them so special in the first place. If and we talked this was part of my discussion with Liz when she came on here. When women feel like leadership is the only thing that is worthy, that is so wrong. And anybody who's been in a military unit knows that the support is just as important as leadership, because you can lead. If you don't have anybody to lead, you're by yourself, right? And on the other side of that, if you don't have anybody leading you, you're lost. So God doesn't want us to be lost. He doesn't intend for us to be lost, and He doesn't intend for us to be alone. So that's why we have this family set up. And so if God's going to expect His priests to be pure, He wants to make sure that the family unit they're part of is pure as well. And that's why He puts this stuff forward here. It's not to relegate women as second-class citizens. It's to understand and respect exactly what goes on in a marriage. They must, if a priest's daughter defiles herself by becoming a prostitute, she disgraces her father, she must be burned in the fire. With great power comes great responsibility. So does being the daughter. Don't be a prostitute, right? Because what are you doing at that point? Whether you are a priest or the family of the priest, you're still representing the faith. You're still a Levite. You're still the part of the family that people look to as an example of the law. And if you're out there defiling yourself, whoring out, right, for money, she disgraces her father. He's not just talking about father, the man who sired her biological father, but also her spiritual father of God. Burn in fire. Look, God's got no chill in the Old Testament. Examples must be made. And that's easy, right? Just don't be a prostitute. You know what the consequences are for it. It is a crime. The high priest, the one among his brothers who has the anointing oil poured on his head and who has been ordained to wear the priestly garments, must not let his hair become unkempt or tear his clothes. You need to look presentable. He must not enter a place where there is a dead body. He must not make himself unclean, even for his father or mother, nor leave the sanctuary of his God or desecrate it, because he has been dedicated by the anointing oil of his God. I am the Lord, right? Making emphasize there. The high priest, you stand on a mountain, and it is lonely up there. It is lonely by design. And if you understand that, maybe you understand a little bit more. Get just that much closer to understanding and being able to relate to God, because you're not going to be able to You gotta hold yourself to a higher standard. You can't do the things that other priests are allowed to do either. The woman he marries must be a virgin. He must not marry a widow, a divorced woman, or a woman defiled by prostitution, but only a virgin from his own people, so that he will not defile his offspring among his people. I am the Lord who makes him holy. Again, you've got to, if you're going to make a decision, you got to make a decision in the most holy way. We are not in the New Testament here. Christ has not died for our sins and given us salvation. This is Old Testament God. The Lord said to Moses, say to Aaron, for the generations to come, none of your descendants who has a defect may come near to offer the food of his God. No man who has any defect may come near, no man who is blind or lame, disfigured or deformed, no man with a crippled foot or hand, who is a hunchback or a dwarf, or has any eye defect, or who has festering or running sores or damaged testicles. No descendant of Aaron, the priest, who has any defect is come near to present the food offerings to the Lord. He has a defect. He must not come near to offer the food of his God. He may eat the most holy food of his God, as well as the holy food. Yet because of his defect, he must not go near the curtain or approach the altar, and so desecrate my sanctuary. I am the Lord who makes them holy. I noticed he didn't say anybody with Down syndrome or anything about that there. Just throwing that out there. Good for him. God knows innocence when he sees it. But again, we're talking about best of the best. And when God is talking about making sacrifices, he's making sacrifices of animals without defect. He's talking about things that are perfect and appearance and how we see them, right? So if you've got issues, then that's the case. Hey, God's an ableist to all the SJWs out there. He's an ableist. You might not like it, but it is what it is. You'll be healed when you die. You will be perfect and made in his image as you were when you were born. All right. You will be okay. Our time on this earth is very brief. So make do what you can. And again, this is not condemning anybody. This is just saying, hey, you can't do this one thing that is very special. Just can't do it. Not mean you're cut off from your people. This doesn't mean that you're being put to death or any of these other things. Doesn't even mean that you need to be shunned or looked down upon. Just means you can't do this one thing. Chapter 22 coming up. The Lord said to Moses, tell Aaron and his sons to treat with respect the sacred offerings the Israelites consecrate to me, so they will not profane my holy name. I am the Lord. Say to them, for the generations to come, if any of your descendants is ceremonially unclean, yet comes near the sacred offerings that the Israelites consecrate to the Lord, that person must be cut off from my presence. I am the Lord. Watch what you do. No chill. If a descendant of Aaron has a defiling skin disease or a bodily discharge, he may not eat the sacred offerings until he is cleansed. He will also be unclean if he touches something defiled by a corpse or by anyone who has made an emission of semen, or if he touches any crawling thing that makes him unclean, or any person who makes him unclean. Whatever the uncleanliness may be, uncleanness may be. The one who touches any such thing will be unclean till evening. He must not eat any of the sacred offerings unless he has bathed himself with water. When the sun goes down, he will be clean. And after that, he may eat the sacred offerings, for they are his food. He must not eat anything found dead or torn by wild animals, and so become unclean through it. I am the Lord. Yes, don't eat roadkill. Right? These are very basic things, right? I only want the best that you have to offer. Right? I only want your beauty pageant winners who are ceremonially clean and pious. All right? Those are who you are to send to me. You are to send to me the best that you have to offer to make sacrifices of the best that you have to offer. This goes all the way back to Cain and Abel. Right? Guess what? God's going to send the best that he has to offer in, a few hundred years from now, or several hundred years from now. He's going to send the best that he has to offer for us. Like we said, all throughout the Old Testament, so much foreshadowing to Christ. But again, that's what he wants. I'm the Lord your God. I'm doing all these great things for you and performing All I ask for you is to treat it with the most sacred respect. The priests are to perform my service in such a way that they do not become guilty and die for treating it with contempt. Again, with contempt. I am the Lord who makes them holy. Don't try to bend things. Don't try to do things out of your own convenience. That's not what this is about. This is doing something for God. So this is why you have to not be lazy and not compromise. It's not give into your into your feelings. It's there to observe and respect. No one outside a priest's family may eat the sacred offerings, nor may the guests of a priest or his hired worker eat it. But if a priest buys a slave with money, or if slaves are born into his household, they may eat his food. If a priest's daughter marries anyone other than a priest, she may not eat any of the sacred contributions. But if a priest's daughter becomes a widow or is divorced, yet has no children, and she returns to live with her in her father's household as in her youth, she may eat her father's food. No unauthorized person, however, may eat it. Imagine it, having people over and they're not part of your family, just having them out over, and they're like, hey, are we gonna eat anything? No. If you wanted to eat something, we had to go to your house. Super Bowl parties not at the pastor's house or the rabbi's house, I guess, in modern day terms. Again, it'd be interesting for me to understand how much of this stuff is still observed in the Jewish culture, in the Jewish religion. I don't want to bring a Jewish person on here because, again, I think it's disrespectful for both of us to discuss faith when the origins of both of our, or the beginning parts of both of our faiths are offensive to the other. I'm a Christian. I believe in God. I believe that he sent his son, is the Messiah. He came and died for our sins, and that we are forgiven. And to think that and it's offensive for me that someone would not believe that. Meanwhile, a Jewish person believes in the same God, but does not believe that the Messiah has yet arrived. And it was be offensive to him for somebody to claim that he has. It's a difficult thing to go to. It's a difficult starting point, and like I said, I don't think that that's productive. Anyone who eats a sacred offering by mistake must make restitution to the priest for the offering and add a fifth of the value to it. The priest must not desecrate the sacred offerings the Israelites present to the Lord by allowing them to eat the sacred offerings and so bring upon them the guilt requiring payment. So don't try to weasel your way into getting some extra stuff, priests, because we don't have a problem with priests taking advantage of people financially and property wise in this country or in the Christian faith, do we? Looking at you, Kenneth Copeland, Joel Osteen, Creflo Dollar. They're all over the place. And it's not just them. They're just the most obvious ones. Do not buy into prosperity preachers. That is not Christianity. I don't accept them as Christianity. All right? Don't, because they're in it for themselves. And all it takes is for you to watch them on camera to understand exactly how fraudulent they are. That one interview, Inside Edition, when they caught Kenneth Copeland, whoo-wee. Boy's a snake oil salesman right there. Unacceptable sacrifices. The Lord said to Moses, speak to Aaron and his sons and to all the Israelites and say to them, if any of you, whether an Israelite or a foreigner residing in Israel, presents a gift for a burnt offering to the Lord, either to fulfill a vow or as a free will offering, you must present a male without defect from the cattle, sheep, or goats in order that it may be accepted on your behalf. Do not bring anything with a defect because it will not be accepted on your behalf. When anyone brings back from the herd or flock a fellowship offering to the Lord to fulfill a special vow or as a free will offering, it must be without defect or blemish to be acceptable. Do not offer to the Lord the blind, the injured, or the maimed, or anything with warts or festering or running sores. Do not present any of these on the altar as a food offering presented to the Lord. You may, however, present as a free will offering an ox or a sheep that is deformed or stunted, but it will not be accepted in fulfillment of a vow. You must not offer to the Lord an animal whose testicles are bruised, crushed, torn, or cut. Ugh. You must not do this in your own land, and you must not accept such animals from the hand of a foreigner and offer them as the food of your God. They will not be accepted on your behalf because they are deformed and have defects. He's very clear. Only the best. The Lord said to Moses, when a calf or a lamb or a goat is born, it is to remain with its mother for 7 days. From the 8th day on, it will be acceptable as a food offering presented to the Lord. No newborns. Do not slaughter a cow or sheep or its young on the same day. When you sacrifice a thank offering to the Lord, sacrifice it in such a way that it will be accepted on your behalf. It must be eaten that same day. Leave none of it till morning. I am the Lord. Keep my commands and follow them. I am the Lord. Do not profane my holy name, for I must be acknowledged as holy by the Israelites. I am the Lord, who made you holy and who brought you out of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord. Respect me. Respect me all the way. What on earth is going on? What is going on here? Whoa. Let me get out of there. Just checking on things, folks. Did I share? Oops. My wife's on top of things where I am not. I thought I shared this. I swear I thought I did. Not the best at this job. I say I'm getting better, but I feel like I'm not in some respects. I'll have to figure that out. All right. Finally, the appointed festivals. Party time, folks. Look, we talk about all this serious stuff, priests and rules and regulations, but man, look, God loves a good barbecue. We talk about that. He wants burnt offerings, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. You know it. He loves a feast. Had a feast for Passover. He goes, hey guys, I'm getting ready to kill the firstborn of everybody in Egypt so that they can kick your butts out of Egypt and give you, and not only do that, but pay you to leave from them, get your restitution. But before that, I want you to have this big old party and smear blood on the walls, on the archways of your door. The Lord said to Moses, speak to the Israelites and say to them, these are my appointed festivals, the appointed festivals of the Lord, which you are to proclaim as sacred assemblies. The Sabbath. There are 6 days when you may work, but on the 7th day is a day of Sabbath rest, a day of sacred assembly. You are not to do any work. Wherever you live, it is a Sabbath to the Lord. The Passover and the festival of unleavened bread. These are the Lord's appointed festivals, the sacred assemblies you are to proclaim at their appointed times. The Lord's Passover begins at twilight on the 14th day of the first month. On the 15th day of that month, the Lord's festival of unleavened bread begins. For 7 days you must eat bread made without yeast. On the first day, hold a sacred assembly and do no regular work. For 7 days, present a food offering to the Lord. And on the 7th day, hold a sacred assembly and do no regular work. Do no regular work. I wonder what that means. There's got to be something. I mean, because obviously if something's going on, you have to work around things that happen. That life comes at you fast at times, right? God comes at you fast sometimes, as we've already found out in the past, and we will continue to find out. Offering the first fruits. The Lord said to Moses, speak to the Israelites and say to them, when you enter the land I am going to give you and you reap its harvest, bring the priest a sheaf of the first grain you harvest. He is to wave the sheaf before the Lord so it will be accepted on your behalf. The priest is to wave it on that day after the Sabbath. On the day you wave the sheaf, you must sacrifice as a burnt offering to the Lord a lamb a year old without defect, together with its grain offering, 2/10 of an ephah of the finest flour mixed with olive oil, a food offering presented to the Lord, a pleasing aroma. And its drink offering a quarter of a hin of wine. Methodist blown out right there. Drink wine. Imbibe in alcohol. It's acceptable. Just look at the Catholics. You must not eat any bread or roasted or new grain until the very day you bring this offering to your God. This is to be a lasting ordinance for the generations to come wherever you live, to understand and give thanks. Again, going back to Cain and Abel, give me the best of what you have as thanks. Show me. It's not so much, it's not what you're giving him. It's not necessarily doing it because he needs to. It's doing it so he understands that you understand gratitude, faith in him, understanding that he is the Lord. Festival of Weeks, like a weeks festival. From the day after the Sabbath, the day you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, count off 7 full weeks, count off 50 days, up to the day after the seventh, the Sabbath, and then present a new offering of new grain to the Lord. From wherever you live, bring 2 loaves made of 2/10 of an ephah of the finest flour baked with yeast as a wave offering of first fruits to the Lord. Present with this bread 7 male lambs, each a year old and without defect, 1 young bull and 2 rams. They will be a burnt offering to the Lord, together with their grain offerings and drink offerings, a food offering, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. Then sacrifice 1 male goat for a sin offering and 2 lambs, each a year old, for a fellowship offering. The priest is to wave the 2 lambs before the Lord as a wave offering, together with the bread of the first fruits. They are a sacred offering to the Lord for the priests. On that same day, you are to proclaim a sacred assembly and do no regular work. This is to be a lasting ordinance for the generations to come, wherever you live. When you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap it to the very edges of your field, or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Leave them for the poor and for the foreigner residing among you. I am the Lord your God. Harkening back to a couple of days ago, a couple of chapters ago. Festival of Trumpets. Look, man, we got parties for days, for weeks. We got a whole festival of weeks. Festival of Trumpets. The Lord said to Moses, say to the Israelites, on the first day of the 7th month, you are to have a day of Sabbath rest, a sacred assembly commemorated with trumpet blasts. Do no regular work, but present a food offering to the Lord. The Day of Atonement. The Lord said to Moses, on the 10th day of the 7th month is the Day of Atonement. Hold a sacred assembly and deny yourselves and present a food offering to the Lord. Do not do any work on that day, because it is the Day of Atonement, when atonement is made for you before the Lord your God. Those who do not deny themselves on that day must be cut off from their people. I will destroy from among their people anyone who does any work on that day. You shall do no work at all. This is to be a lasting ordinance for the generations to come, wherever you live. It is a day of Sabbath rest for you. And you must deny yourselves from the evening of the 9th day of the month until the following evening. You are to observe your Sabbath. The Festival of Tabernacles, the last festival. The Lord said to Moses, say to the Israelites, on the 15th day of the 7th month, man, the 7th month is hopping. On the 15th day of the 7th month, the Lord's Festival of Tabernacles begins, and it lasts for 7 days. Yes, 7 days. The 7th month is best. It must be like Christmas. The first day is a sacred assembly. Do no regular work. For 7 days, present food offerings to the Lord, and on the 8th day, hold a sacred assembly and present a food offering to the Lord. It is the closing special assembly. Do no regular work. These are the Lord's appointed festivals, which you are to proclaim as sacred assemblies for bringing food offerings to the Lord. The burnt offerings and grain offerings, sacrifices and drink offerings required for each day. These offerings are in addition to those for the Lord's Sabbath, and in addition to your gifts, and whatever you have vowed, and all the freewill offerings you give to the Lord. So beginning with the 15th day of the 7th month, after you have gathered the crops of the land, celebrate the festival of the Lord to the Lord for 7 days. The first day is a day of Sabbath rest, and the 8th day is also a day of Sabbath rest. On the first day, you are to take branches from luxuriant trees, from palms, willows, and other leafy trees, and rejoice before the Lord your God for 7 days. Palm Sunday, folks. Why did they have them there? And why did they offer them to Christ? Not knowing that a few days later they'd be sacrificed, they'd be calling for his execution, and then rejoicing when it happens. Thanks, guys. Like legitimately thanks, because like he had to die. Celebrate this as a festival to the Lord for 7 days each year. This is to be a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. Celebrate it in the seventh month. Live in temporary shelters for 7 days. All native-born Israelites are to live in such shelters, so your descendants will know that I had the Israelites live in temporary shelters when I brought them out of Egypt. I am the Lord, your God. So Moses announced to the Israelites the appointed festivals of the Lord. Don't let anybody say that God is a stick in the mud. He likes good food and good parties. He also likes obedience, right? And again, we see these rules put in place. But again, these rules weren't put in place before they started making idols and acting like fools at the base of Sinai, right? Not before they weren't complaining about every single thing and showing them about the most faithlessness, period, in the sight of God, literally in the shadow of him delivering them out of Egypt. Most disrespectful. Of course, God goes, these folks need rules. They need a lot of rules. They need discipline. You need discipline. So that's what he gives to them. Because what did we have before that? All right. We'll start with Noah, right? Noah was righteous. Or sorry, let's talk about when God first approaches Abraham. Abraham's obedient. Abraham gives birth to Isaac. Isaac's obedient. Isaac gives birth to Jacob. Jacob's obedient to God, not necessarily to morality, to all the other good things. But when God tells him to do something, he's faithful. And Jacob's gives birth to Joseph, who is also faithful. But then you have the other 11 brothers, not as faithful, and then their descendants, and everything starts falling apart. And now we have Moses, a faithful man, reluctant due to his own self-confidence issues, but a good man and faithful. But all the other Israelites, even his right-hand man to Aaron, no. When you see people acting that foolish, of course you're going to say they need some rules, because they do not know how to act on their own, and holding them to a high standard is the only way to keep them in line. And something we've proven to ourselves. So that's it for today. We've got 2 more days of Leviticus. I think we're rolling right along, going right up. We're right on schedule. And man, I'm excited about next week. Maybe I can pencil in another guest. I don't know. We'll see what I can do. Like I said, if you like this, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and come here. I do these streams every weeknight about approximately 8 o'clock to 8:30. Sometimes it's different. Like I said, 8:30 starts my stream with Eric, and Hans. The stream with Hans is going to be on at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. But again, normally happens between 8 and 8:15. Just give me getting time to spend time with the family, put the kids to bed, and head on here and get set up. Sometimes there's some alterations. Bear with me. I need grace, folks. You need grace. We all need grace. I love you guys. Be good, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow night. God bless. Godspeed. Good night.